Welcome again to Buza Mkali podcast. I'm your host Kabwere Musa, and today we are still in the series of Echoes of Identity, and today we are on episode 2. We are exploring the online versus offline me, the double life of Gen Zs. So there's a version of you that everyone sees. There's the version with the carefully chosen bio, the filtered smile, and the clever caption. And then there's the version of you that no one posts. That is the quiet version, the uncertain one, and the real version. Most of us live somewhere between these two worlds. We scroll through the highlights of other people's life while editing our own, while we are crafting a story that feels authentic yet somehow curated. So in this episode, we'll explore the tension between our online selves and our offline selves, and how they blend, how they clash, and how they shape each other. Because for us, the question isn't just who am I, but it's who am I here and who am I there. So let's be honest, we all perform online, even when we say we are just being real. We pick angles, we pick the captions to our photos, and then we pick several aesthetics that we think they are going to portray us in a certain way. We delete these posts that don't get enough engagement, and then we go on to filter, we edit, we reframe, not to deceive anyone, but just to control the narrative. It's always said that the person who controls the narrative has a higher power. So that's what we are always doing. So there's this sociologist who is called Evan Goffman, who once compared an everyday life to a stage. So in his perspective, he asserts that we perform roles depending on our audience. But then what happens when the stage never closes? And that's the danger of the online life. Because when you're constantly online, that means you're constantly visible. So there's always that element of performance and the element of authenticity. But then you can never know between where does the performance end and the authenticity begin. So this is what most psychologists nowadays call a context collapse. That means when all your audiences, either it's family, friends, either it's classmates, either it's co-workers, and even the strangers whom we meet online, merge into one digital crowd. So you no longer have that an offline audience, but most of our audience is actually that the digital crowd. So we can't play different roles for each group. So we maintain a single version that always feels safe, relatable, and likable. And that version, that is the online version, it starts to dominate the real version of you. So it's like we are not faking our lives, but we are always reframing them. And that subtle difference has changed how our generation understands what's real. So there's the aspect of the aesthetic of being yourself. So here it's kind of a paradox. We now curate authenticity. Look at popular online aesthetics. Everyone, you can see some of us post things which are messy, but then we 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 categorized them as messy but cute, as soft life, as cozy chaos, and then each one says, every one of us in the online spaces, every one of us says, just be real, just be yourself. But also we are saying, look at this while doing it. So we, at the same time, we are trying to be real, and then at the same time we are trying to curate ourselves, and we are telling people, others, that as I'm trying to be real, you can look at this. Yeah. So even the vulnerability has become a kind of performance. So we share breakdowns, we share how our therapy sessions go, or even go on to confess even the raw confessions without any filters, not always to connect with others, or to tell others that, hey, we have, or we are facing a common problem here, and this is how we can work it out. But because vulnerability itself has become content, so it's like the more the more you become vulnerable, it's a kind of content itself. So you are not just sharing your raw confessions, or you are not just sharing your breakdowns so that people can actually stand with you, but just because that's a kind of content that has become part of the narrative these days. So this is a part of performative authenticity, where openness becomes a strategy for visibility. You are not just sharing your confessions, or you are not just sharing your breakdowns, but simply because you are using it as a strategy for gaining visibility, either to increase your followers, or either to widen your narrative, your personal brand, that is. So this isn't always bad in some way, because social media has normalized talking about mental health, their trauma, and self-discovery. It has actually helped us build empathy and some safe spaces that previous generations never had. But it has also blurred the line between healing and branding your healing. So they're two different things. There's the actual healing, and then there's that actual branding of healing. Yeah. And the deeper question still remains: when every moment can be shared, how do we know what moment still belongs to us? So there's this common thing which we I think it's now like a joke. So it goes, if you didn't post it, did it even happen? So for something to actually happen nowadays, you put it online, or you have to put it either on your status, or on your Facebook story, or whatever. So this kind of joke hides the truth, but then we often don't feel real unless we are witnessed. So it's like, even to ourselves, we cannot confirm, or not even confirm. We cannot just stay with the things which happen to us, just because we even don't believe them that they have happened, unless we share them. You see, so that's the identity trap of the digital age. So it's like, in this whole sphere of the digital thing, and it's not bad, by the way. Our existence, we cannot exist without the visibility. Yeah. So without visibility, we are inexistent. So let's if we can flip the script. What if we stopped trying to be authentic online, and start protecting the parts of ourselves that aren't meant for display? So we can flip it a bit. So we've been sharing our raw confessions, our therapy sessions, our breakdowns, even to some extent, and it's bad. It's bad, actually. Some of us even record when we are our intimate intimate moments, and we post them for the world to see. So, but what if we try to flip this whole narrative, and we start to protect the parts of ourselves that aren't meant for display? So there's power in privacy, a very big power. The person whom you don't know, or the person who has actually perfected the art of hiding things from the public, that person is mysterious, and mystery is power. So there's power in privacy, and in keeping some thoughts unshared, some growth unseen, and even some memories undocumented. Usually, for me personally, I've like this kind of thing. If I go somewhere, and I take a picture of me in that place, most of the times the memory of that place fades away. I don't know if it's kind of strange, but I find it, if I don't take any picture of any event where I went, or if I don't record a video of me going on a long walk on a Sunday morning, I usually remember everything. But the moment I take a, a video, or I take a picture, or I take a selfie of me somewhere with a bunch of my friends, I don't have many friends actually, but for those two or three, if I take a selfie with them, I usually tend to forget about that memory. But yeah, so there's power. Yeah, I've sidelined a bit, but there's power on keeping some thoughts unshared. So there's this common thing people usually say, that no one can attack what they don't see. No one can attack what they don't know. If you are building something in private, no one is going to notice what you are building unless you share it, and that means you are going to the chances of you going with that thing to a good extent, or even to actually finalizing it, it's very high compared to everything you can share. Though there's this something else shared by people say, if you share something with someone who is like-minded, then maybe the two, if you combine efforts, you're going to go further than if you could have gone as an individual. But I think it's not in everything. It's not in everything actually. So we are, but there's something hopeful. I think most of the Gen Zs, that is, have already started pushing back against performative culture. Yeah, so there we have, some of us have started doing some offline hobbies. We've started private journals, and we've started just minimizing whatever we post, just to close friends. So we are learning that we actually don't need to perform our personality to prove that it's real. So in offline, we usually discover the small truths that algorithms can't quantify. So that is, the algorithm can't quantify the sound of silence in our own heads, and the peace of doing something that we are never going to post about, and the comfort of being unfiltered, and the comfort of being unseen. So also there's this aspect of spirituality which plays a role here, so that the faith also always reminds us that identity is not just self-expression. It's always about self-awareness. It's about knowing who we are, and even when nobody else is watching. Because at the end of the day, authenticity isn't about showing everything. It's about being whole, whether seen or unseen. So how there's the between the online and the offline, as the how there's a integration of these two worlds. So it's like we are building a bridge over the two worlds. The goal isn't to reject the online self, but it's always to integrate it. So your digital self is still you. It's just a lens, or it's just another layer which we've added. And to some extent, if at all you could call it a translation, I think that can fit. Yeah. So maybe authenticity in this age means learning to live between the worlds, to share with the intention, not just while sharing. If at all an experience is going to empower somebody else, you can share it with that intention, not just with the impulse of sharing. And then to post it from an angle of truth, not because you want to manipulate people into following you, but just from an angle whereby you feel, if I can post this, and it's something the world has to see, not just the pressure of you of you posting just because for the dopamine. And then to remember that what's real doesn't need constant proof. If you're real always, you don't need the constant validation from anyone, because you already know you are real. Most of the time it's the lies and the fakes that usually need constant the validation, and to some extent the insecure ones always need that validation, and I doubt if you're all that much insecure. So what would happen if you started showing up online in the same way you show up when nobody else is there to see? And what if sometimes you let silence be your story? Can you just unplug, or can you just log out from your ex, from your WhatsApp, from your Insta, from your Facebook, just for a while, or let's say maybe for a day or two, and enjoy the silence of being offline. So maybe the real journey isn't choosing between the online and the offline self actually, but it's learning how to let them speak to each other. Maybe it's learning to stop the performance and start integrating between these two worlds, because the truth is your online self is just one page of your story, and not the whole book. And the most beautiful parts of that book, they are the ones no one else gets to read. So this was episode 2, and yeah, in our next episode, I think we are going to explore about the tribes and tags. And until then, take a pause, breathe deeply, and remember you are more than what you post.